Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian, and I'm here with Allison, and this is the dating show, where we are going to be looking at an article from Bolde,
Mm-hmm.
entitled. Well, it's an opinion piece from Bolde entitled "How Dating Women Helped Me Understand Men."
It's also another listicle too. There are 8
Yeah.
items on the listicle. We can miss number 3 because it's not really an item. It is an ad. As Bold's usual tactic is to have a listicle and then the third item and on the listicle is them selling you exactly what they just took away from women,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
their sense of agency in a relationship. So I've always found really hilarious whenever we go out through Bold. It's the classic sell this or sorry, create the sickness, sell the cure. But yeah,
Yeah.
this I thought this was a really good item. It was how dating men or sorry, how dating women made me understand men. I took out a few of the extra words in that because I figured, has actually
Yeah.
helped me. You don't really need the actually just weakens it. I'm not sure why they had it in there. It's not really great writing. But
Dating women
anyway,
has actually helped me understand men. I guess she's saying I didn't think I would learn something about
from
men
dating
from
women.
dating women, but here we are, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but
So,
that's I think that's just as strongly stated with dating women has helped me understand men.
yeah.
Don't you think? Yeah.
Yes.
I guess it's just a technical point with with the writing. But anyway, so I just want to remind everyone that we are doing our monthly fundraiser. It's at feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. Please do help us out so we can continue to bring you this wonderful content. If we aren't able to fund it each month, then it sort of disappears. But anyway, so feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. And if you want to send us a tip and a comment, please go to feedthebadger.com/just the tip. That is feedthebadger.com/just the tip. And I will be keeping an eye on that. I believe Brian will also be keeping an eye on that so that we
Yeah.
get your
I have
comment in.
my phone right here. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
So, I can't
We
switch.
are highly technical here.
Yeah, I can't switch to the room to the Discord room on my PC because I'm currently sharing video. So, I'll use my
On
phone.
Discord, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I heard someone say that they heard an echo, but I'm checking my audio levels. It seems fine, and I'm not hearing this from anyone else. If you guys are getting an echo or something, just put it in the comments. I'll be looking. I think everything is okay. Sometimes when you first start a stream or you first join Discord and you're in the chat, there are distortions. There could be static. There could be whatever. But usually that passes shortly after. It's basically just a Discord problem. So, okay. So, anyways, it looks like there's no echo. So we're just gonna get right into it. So I guess let's look at
Yes.
this listicle. So this is from bold.com, and they're dating sort of like section or whatever, and it's specifically LGBT dating. I don't know if that's all
Mhm.
of Bold or just
No,
this
no, it's not.
specific. Yeah, it's not, right?
I
So
think there's more LGBT dating, which is probably in and of itself a gold mine that
yeah, it
we might
probably is.
like tunnel into at some point. But this particular one, since she's ending up dating men, I'm guessing I don't know. Do LGBT? I mean, are the bisexuals kicked out lately? I don't know. I don't. We tend to be the Schrodinger's queers.
Yeah, well,
Sometimes we're included, sometimes not.
bisexuals are on the way out, Allison. They're
Mm,
yesterday's news because
they're the
bi
white men of
they are. They
dating.
will be for sure. I mean, they're because they could. First of all, they might still breed, which
Mm,
yuck. But the other thing
mm,
is that I think the main reason why the bisexuals are going to be
or to get you.
under attack is because they're operating within a binary. And we all know there
Oh,
is no
oh, right.
binary. So
Oh,
you're
yeah,
going to
that's
have
right,
to,
that's right.
yeah, you're going to have to rediscover your sexuality and come out as pan, and then you'll be accepted. So,
I don't feel like doing that.
well,
I
I
think I'm
guess,
okay with myself. I know that that's not acceptable, but,
yeah, yeah.
Uh, yeah, no, this is since she ends up dating men, I think this is I guess it sort of straddles the categories. But I did want to point out that I feel like Bold may have been listening to us because this one is a little better than their usual fare. Their usual fare is like, okay, well, you need to project all of these potential consequences of your own actions onto men.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you completely fail at getting better relationships because you're blaming the person who has no control over the problem, we are going to tell you how to take responsibility for your relationship. I'm like, well, why don't you just cut out the extra step there and just start by doing that, you know? Like, why do you have to
Yeah.
pay however many for an hour for a webinar? Well, I know the answer to that. But let's get into this.
All right, let's get
start.
into this. So here we go. Dating women has actually helped me understand men better. There was more to the title. By Rachel Galperin, which is kind of a familiar name. I feel like we may have read through one of her articles before, but
Mhm.
okay. She says, I spent a ton of time dating women in my early 20s, and when I started dating men again, it was suddenly so much easier. Why? I hadn't changed all that much, but our interactions were so much better. Turns out dating women actually taught me a lot about men.
Are you sure you didn't change that much? Or maybe your expectations in a dating partner changed, or maybe your appreciation of what men brought to a relationship changed? Like, when I did my sort of solo video pointing this out, I said, "Well, it seems a little bit for the item that I mentioned, it seems a bit odd that you would find out something about men from dating women,
Mm-hmm.
um, unless it's something that you found out you appreciated more from men, perhaps." But I don't wanna do any spoilers, so let's.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just gonna, because I haven't read this yet, so I'm gonna make some. I don't know if they're predictions, but
Oh, go
maybe
ahead.
like, yeah. So when I
Get the
usually,
magic fry and 8 ball out.
yeah. Let me see. So if I just based on the headline, I learned more about, like, I basically, have learned more about men from dating women. What I thought it might go down in terms of the road, and you don't have to answer this because I know that you've read some of this, if not all of it already, but what I
Mhm.
assumed was meant by this is that when you are dealing with women as
Mhm.
a person dating them, and then you see the way that women act in relationships and how that differs from men. Maybe before you started dating women, you found men to be, I don't know, difficult to get along with, difficult to
Mhm.
understand, whatever it was, right? Oh, he's kind of cold, or he's always horny,
Mhm.
like whatever it is. And then you date women for a while and you notice some of your behavior that may have frustrated your man, but now it's being done to
Mhm.
you by women, right? So it's sort of
Mhm.
like I can't remember her name. Is it Anna Akana? She made a video about that where she says that she started dating women and now she understands like men's
Yeah.
frustration with women, right? And
Mm.
I that's what I thought this video or this article was going to be. It was going to be like, oh, here are all the idiosyncrasies that women display when they're dating that I'm finding frustrating, and now I understand why men, like are the
Well,
way they are.
bold stock and trade is not to actually tell or do
Yeah.
anything that might make women feel responsible or shall we say blamed, which also
Yes.
means that women it gives women a sense of helplessness because if you don't have the power to change something, then you're helpless in the circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
So you would think that might be part of it, but it's almost like she says that,
Mm-hmm.
but solely through negative space.
Yeah, that's
Solely
what
through negative space.
that's what I'm starting to think, is that
Well,
it's
almost
not
always.
going to do it in the kind of way that you might find like humorous, where they say, oh, you know how women are, and maybe this woman's like, yeah, that my last girlfriend was mad at me, and when I asked her what she's mad about, she said, and then wouldn't tell me, and like stuff like that, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
but I don't. That's what I thought this was going to be on the surface, but now I'm starting to think it's not. That I'm starting to think that
Mhm.
it's not going to be, like. oh, women, they are so funny for this or that reason. It's going to be something else, maybe even something more
Mm,
sinister. I don't know. So
mm.
anyway, I
Yeah,
just
yeah. I mean, it is bold, but I
yeah,
will say that
it
it
is
is
bold.
better than I thought it would be. So maybe we
Yeah.
just read the first one.
Okay, let's keep going. Number 1. I stopped feeling pressure. I'm sorry, guys. I'm like moving things around because stupid websites. Uh, I stopped feeling
Pop up
pressure to
stuff. Yeah.
conform. Yeah, they like pop in their logos and they only do. It's just crazy. Number 1, I stopped feeling pressure to conform to traditional gender roles. In heterosexual relationships, men are expected to be, well, manly. They're expected to make the first move, pay for their dates, take control in the bedroom, and possess a host of other dominant qualities. In queer relationships, this isn't always the case. You're free to be who you want to be at any given point in time without feeling the need to conform to any outdated
Mm.
and obnoxious gender roles. Should I finish this? Because like I'm urged to kill rising, but I'll just finish this
Mm.
section and then we'll talk about it. I've dated plenty of manly women and gender non-conforming people and have realized the pressure to perform my gender in a certain way was not only unnecessary, but not helpful when I'm dating. I've carried that lesson into my relationships with men and it's worked wonders.
Well, now she's saying that her relationships with men have improved. And overall, I think it's more like she's figured something out that she didn't before, and it's not necessarily that she had like the men are treating her better, but that it's just that the relation or the interaction has gone better. But so just reading into it, pressure to conform to traditional gender roles. Now, how is that going to make it better for her in her relationships with men unless she was actually also putting pressure um on men to perform a traditional gender role. So once again, like this is
Well,
Bold is really
yeah.
tiptoes over having women take any kind of responsibility in their relationships, which is destined to give women a sense of learned helplessness. Because if you learn, okay, I take this action, I get this outcome, I don't like that outcome, but it's connected to this action, you can take that action, no longer get that outcome, and have a sense of power of your life and have a sense of accomplishment and pride. It's sometimes difficult to change how you approach things or to change your attitude, but you know, having more mastery over yourself is a source of legitimate self esteem, in my opinion. And to constantly tell women it's not your fault or it's due to some kind of oppression that you're experiencing or it's you can deflect it onto your partner doesn't actually give them the opportunity to develop that kind of mastery, develop that kind of sense of self, efficacy, so that kind of pride in being able to master yourself. And most people, if you have a foible that is you're not you're not being at your best, you're not usually very happy when you're engaging in things that are negative. So if you learn to control that and you learn to overcome it, then you feel better about yourself. And our desire, and it's particular Bold's desire to never hold women to account unless they're paying for the privilege of being coached by one of their webinar coaches, that is it's really detrimental for women. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's no way that women aren't partly to blame, well, almost entirely to blame for the circumstances that they find themselves in their lives. So the fact that we pussyfoot around this doesn't do women any favors. That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling like this is just like she's sort of tiptoeing over and around something and not really getting into it. Maybe that's the end if you want to know how,
Well, it
it's
could be
gonna
what you would learn. I
yeah, what you learn.
suspect I suspect there's a couple of things going on in this. Number one, I think that she makes this presumption about what men are expected to be as though it's negative because she's calling these, gender roles obnoxious and outdated. So it's not, she's trying to say that men who are expected to be manly is somehow a bad thing. It's retrograde, it's old fashioned, whatever you want to call it, despite the fact that women are the ones that are attracted to that. So and you know, unless she's like putting out some like goofy like two-dimensional stereotype about a manly man, you know, like a Gaston or something, I don't, I mean, I would think that she would know that, you know, what it requires to be a man is not a tremendously high bar, but it is something that women generally are attracted to, and men in their nature tend towards, because we are a pair bonding species that, you know, we're going to look for that in each other. But it's not like there is a decree that men have to behave a certain way and that women have to behave a certain way. And so that's one part of it. Another part of it is I think that she seems, it sounds like to me, she's doing this to herself, because she says in queer relationships, I don't have to worry about these things because I'm like dating masculine women and non-binary people or gender non-conforming people. And I realize that the pressure to perform my gender role, you know, in a certain way is not only unnecessary but also not helpful. So it sounds like she's doing that to herself because this is the reason, when she started redating men again, she carried an attitude of, I'm just going to be who I am, and men were shockingly receptive. They were fine with it. Right. They were like, okay, well, I guess that's you. And that was it. So that means that before she was like, oh, I gotta, you know, again, assuming she's not lying about any of this, just taking her at her word. Before she was like, well, I'm a woman. That means I have to be feminine. That means I have to act like this. And the men were like, you know, you're being neurotic. What the hell's wrong with you? Maybe, you know, because if there's someone who is consciously in their own head about how they should be behaving, then nothing genuine is going to come out of that, because you're thinking about what you should be doing instead of thinking about who you are and just and just enjoying it. And sure, maybe some men will say, well, I prefer my women to be this way, but that's okay. Just be you. You don't want to like force yourself into a relationship with someone that doesn't like the person that you actually are. Yeah, and it's a waste of time. So that's the other thing. And the last thing I think is going on with this is she seems to be trying in a small way to paint queer relationships as better than heterosexual relationships, because she's saying in heterosexual relationships everyone is like oppressed by their gender role, but in queer relationships, no one is, because there are no gender roles, right? It's like being, in her mind, it's like being queer is not just a sexual preference, but it is a, you know, like a cultural movement. It's basically like moving away from these oppressive gender roles. And I think that I've seen this a lot in like LGBT activist circles, so not necessarily the population, but the people who write articles and think pieces, where they will do everything they can to show why heterosexual relationships are inferior to queer relationships. They'll say, oh, well, you know, they'll complain about children. They'll complain about how boring it is. Apparently everyone in heterosexual relationships just does missionary with the lights off. You know, maybe they keep their socks on. I don't know. And I think that there's a little jab at that too. It's a little, you know, it's not like the main point, but when you say, you know, here's all the things that are expected from gender roles when men are dating women, and look at how boring it is, and look at how obnoxious it is, and all of that. And then you say, but when I was in queer relationship, that everything was great. It was like an adventure every day. Well, that sounds like you're really selling it, you know, even though you're dating men now, apparently. So
yeah, and you found that you've. The other thing is that maybe what's happening is also she's not holding men to a specific standard in, you know, that might be a little bit too strict or restrictive. Okay, let's go to the second
I would assume so. Okay, number 2. I realized, why is it in caps? I feel like I'm being yelled at. I realized I was guilty of lumping guys together and perpetuating stereotypes. Okay, well, that sounds pretty good. Yeah, that actually relates to the first one too. But let's read on.
Mm.
I've dated a number of masculine-looking women who didn't act very masculine, and I've dated feminine women who like to take charge and dominate. Things are not as simple as I assume they are. It's my discovery. I once went out with a male dancer who I was convinced was gay at first. I mean, he was a ballerina, for crying out loud. Who's the one making
Uh,
assumptions here? And then one night he
why
kissed
would
me.
you why
Yeah, go
would you
ahead.
assume because he's a ballerina that he's gay?
I know. I mean, I'm sure that there's a disproportionate number of gay
Number
men
of
in
gay men,
dance,
yeah.
but that doesn't mean they're all gay. I mean, if you think about it, if you wanted to like, get a lot of chicks, if you wanted to pull a lot of women, you might want to go where the women are. So,
That's just
you
a
know,
thought, yeah.
yeah. Um,
Then one
okay.
night he kissed me. Okay, well, this is
Yeah.
interesting because I assume that was just right out of the blue. No complaints about him being a nice
No,
guy and waiting.
no, no,
No,
no,
no.
no sexual assault
Well,
allegations.
there
No
you go. There
Me
you
Too
go, guys.
movement.
That's
Yeah.
how that's how you pull off the nice guy thing. You have to be a ballerina.
Well, he was
And
probably
I
like really attractive and
so
fit. Yeah.
yeah, he was probably cut, so that might
Yeah.
help as well.
Yeah.
Uh,
Ch- Cheekbones like razor blades. Yeah. Um okay.
suddenly I didn't
Suddenly I
see.
didn't see ballet. The way he gesticulated sublimely or his turnout when he walked. I just saw him, a straight dancer who loved getting his cuticles done at the salon. People come in all forms, and judging on appearances or biases is a waste of time. Okay, so again, this sounds like a you problem. Like I
Yeah.
think the average person is usually open to the possibility that someone is going to like, buck the trend because that's the way individual human beings are. But to like
Mm.
sit there and basically say, "Oh, I totally thought this guy was gay. I mean, he was a ballerina." I'm like, "Well, that sounds like you are the one making assumptions about men."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and it's good that you learn not to make that many assumptions. I think we can skip number 3 because it's always
This is the ad, so we're gonna
yeah, skip
skip it.
ad.
Yeah,
Yeah, instead,
number
I'll just
ad.
remind y'all like, you don't need to purchase a webinar if you just listen to us, and if you would like to support this content, go to feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz and support us monthly. You can also set up a subscription at feedthebadger.com, or you can send in those super chats, which nobody has done yet, so do that. Send in a super chow
Mm-hmm.
to feedthebadger.com/project/just-the-tip. All right.
All right. So that was number 3. Go
Mhm.
to feedthebadger.com and show us some support. Excuse me, support.
Love.
Number 4. I stopped feeling like I had to be dressed to impress 24/7. Many women feel they need to wear makeup all the time to impress guys, and I was no different. I dated a woman a while ago and we were sending selfies back and forth. Then she started asking for some when I wasn't wearing any makeup and I was just chilling at home. I told her I didn't want to, but didn't say why. When I finally revealed the reason, she laughed and told me to send it anyway. In doing so, I realized I don't need to pretend to be someone I'm not to please the person I'm dating. I can and should just be me, and that's enough. This is men's fault?
Well, no, I don't think it is men's fault. I think it also is it's interesting because she says, "I don't have to please," but you did. You sent a picture that this particular woman wanted in order to please her.
That's true.
Uh, so I mean, if you're somebody who does the makeup thing, not doing the makeup thing isn't necessarily not pleasing yourself. It may just be pleasing somebody else's aesthetic. But my other point is that another thought is maybe the women are actually more likely to tell her, I'm not interested in this. I don't like this.
Oh,
I
yeah,
would prefer you
maybe.
do that. They're more likely to push back on things that they don't appreciate or things that they want her to do. Whereas men might just be more likely to just let it slide out of the sheer joy of having a female finally,
Yeah.
which is something
Yeah, yeah.
that's a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and again, I don't see how I'm not so sure if this is necessarily blaming men. Um,
No, she's in her own head still because
yeah, she's still
she
there.
assumes that like all the things that she's doing are things that men not only want or prefer
Hmm.
but insist upon. And I just don't I've never seen that in my life. I've never seen men say she better be wearing at least 4 layers of makeup, and when she sends me a picture
Mm.
I expect it to be 3 filters down. No, like men don't care about that. Like generally they want to know that the woman they're dating, like what she looks like is like, not going to be concealed by a bunch of camouflage. I think in
Mm.
general men want to know that the woman is a natural beauty, but that doesn't mean
Mm.
that like, I think that they appreciate makeup, but like no, I wouldn't. I don't know why she assumes this about men. So
And then also men have different tastes as well. Like you can't really
yeah,
say, oh,
yeah.
all
What
men
they
are going to
find
be considered.
attractive is not necessarily what women
Maybe
find
the
attractive
another
about other
idea
women.
is that when she's dating women, because she sees women more as individuals, she started to relate to her partner more as individuals than as like
A
a
collective.
stereotype. Yeah, a collective. And that in turn led her to consider more individual preferences. All right,
Hmm.
let's do number 5.
Yeah, that's correct. Number 5, I embraced my confidence and sex appeal. Guys want a woman who is confident in herself and who feels sexy and badass regardless of what she's wearing or how she looks. It took me a while to own it and be comfortable with myself, but once I did, I realized it's totally hot and men dig it too. A strong sense of self is so much more appealing than the perfect outfit or a face full of makeup any day.
Um, if by that you mean that you are assertive about what you want and clear and you make it easy, probably you're right.
Well, I don't think men want a neurotic space case. So if you're
Or
like
trusted.
constantly worrying about like, how you look, what people think about you, what people are saying about you, like if you're constantly worried about that, I think that men can pick up on that and they will run for the hills because they don't want a high maintenance woman. And so
Mm,
if you don't necessarily have to be like ultra confident in yourself, but you have to be okay with who you are, warts and
mm,
all. And, whatever it is that you feel like is important to improve on, you should be working on that. So I'm not saying like, all of your flaws are good, but like, you should be making some kind of progress. And that goes for men and women. Um,
mm,
but yeah, I mean, it sounds like again she's assuming men's position, and then
mhm.
from dating women, she realized that she was
She's making
wrong
assumptions.
about that she's making these generalizations about men, right? And when she
Yeah.
lets that go, she finds that men are all right.
Yeah,
It's-
yeah, that's basically it. And it's just like
yeah.
there's a little bit of dancing around that. It's like, wow, from dating women, I discovered that I can relate to my sexual partners as individuals. And then when I started to date men and related to them as individuals, I found that my relationships and my interactions with men were significantly improved. No shit,
Yeah,
Sherlock.
exactly.
Oh
Um,
man.
yeah, I mean, it's
Okay.
funny, you would think it's simple, but all right. Number
Mhm.
6, I cut out all the drama once and for all. Well, I don't even think this is dating advice. Like all
It's
people
everything advice.
should, yeah, it's like all advice just of the drama is for children, okay? It's for
Let's
high
stop it
school.
here. Honey
All
Badger
right.
Radio's over. Drama.
Yeah,
Just cut out the drama.
just cut out the
Go
drama.
on.
Number 6, I cut out all the drama once and for all. Another thing I realized while dating women is that men hate drama. Yes. As complicated as a queer relationship can be, the one thing it has in common with straight relationships is that the people in them usually want things to be relatively drama free and easygoing. Can she join me and my friends for some shopping once in a while? Can she kick
Mm.
back with a pint of ice cream on the weekend without worrying about breaking her diet? Men are simple creatures and want two things from their partners: fun and no drama. All right, I'll accept the second part of that. I don't like the simple creatures thing, but I think I know,
Yeah.
that you're taking some literary liberties.
Mm,
If you can
I would.
fulfill, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Well, what I was gonna say is, yeah, I took issue with the simple creatures. First of all, I think that people who avoid drama aren't necessarily simple. I think, and I said this in my original response that I put up on the main channel. Being able to control your desire for drama means that you are able to entertain yourself without engaging with other people with all kinds of conflict or introducing fights and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
And that generally means that you have an interest or a thing that you do, and that thing absorbs your time. So, and it enables you to actually be alone and entertain yourself with absolutely nobody else's input.
Yep.
So it might be creative, it might be constructive, you know, creative and constructive. It may just be consuming books, whatever it is. You have something that you have a passion that you like to do. So if it's a choice between your passion and engaging pointless drama, you go and you do your thing. And that doesn't make you simple. In fact, many people who have an interest in something are have a lot more depth because of their interests in various things. You know, if you have a passion for history, that doesn't make you a simple person. It just makes you have a passion, which in my opinion makes you more complex and more interesting. People who seem to need drama seem to have that issue with just being able to entertain themselves, being alone with their own thoughts, and that's the other thing. A lot of people who have to bring in this chaos, this emotional back and forth, they can't be alone with their own thoughts. So they haven't done the work to just control themselves emotionally and manage negative emotions like boredom, like
Yep.
sadness, like anger, and just be able to manage them themselves. I don't think anybody can really argue that like a Buddhist monk is simple. Like maybe they work very hard for that simplicity, and in that sense, you know, they are complex in their simplicity. But so I think that this idea that people who don't need drama are simple is wrong. It's that they're pursuing an internal depth that I actually would say is missing in a lot of people who thrive on drama. You
Oh
know,
yeah,
they
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I
So
don't think drama is sophisticated at all. I think that we maybe it's because of reality TV or social media or whatever. But I think that it's something you're supposed to grow out of if you ever get involved in
mm,
it to begin with, and we haven't been able to, or at least a lot of people, have not been able
on the
to grow out of it.
all those, you know, sometimes you can look at drama and you can analyze it for the deeper themes and the deeper
Yeah.
meanings. That's
Yeah,
I think a
sure.
different thing.
No,
Yeah,
I,
but
I
in
I
this
think that's
case,
different. It's like watching how they have you ever seen like Downton Abbey or any shows like that where
mm,
they're literally dramas, but there's
mhm,
they're like soap operas, right? There's always something going on. This person is
mhm.
doing scandalous things over here, and like women love that stuff. That's why I asked you if you watch any of those.
I've
Usually that
watched
they can be period
uh,
shows or whatever. What were you gonna say?
I've watched the movie, and I have to say that I do find that kind of stuff entertaining too.
Yeah, I know. I
Um,
think they do, but like as long as it's not like because it's not real because it's a show.
mhm, yeah,
You can indulge in that. That like, I want to get the I don't know like the rumors and the social
yeah.
aspects of that
Human beings like that
with
stuff
without it actually affecting people's real
or
lives.
hurting other people, yeah,
Yeah, because it's
and
safe.
yeah, no, people are sort of like, we're gossipers by nature because we're very social, so we're all a bunch of, like, birds in a colony clucking at each other,
Yeah.
but, you know, and that can be taken too far, but again, you can also, look at that stuff and see the deeper themes. Like, I'm a writer, so I write a lot of drama too and conflict between people. I don't have as much of that in my life because I'm also a hermit, but, um you know, but what I meant by that is like you can look at gossip and not gossip, but drama and see
Hmm.
the deeper underlying stuff and not get so much connected into the surface stuff. But
Yeah.
my overall point is that people who aren't attracted to it and don't perpetuate drama aren't necessarily simple creatures. However,
Right.
I think that this might be a way of preemptively stopping complaints about misogyny or judging women by saying, well, men are simple creatures. So you sort of
Oh
give
yeah, sure.
a backhanded compliment to men, sort of an insult. And
Mm-hmm.
then you lay out the payload, which is, actually men are easier to be around because they
Yeah.
don't want so much of the drama,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
for sure.
one of the things that I mentioned when I read this is I'm like, it seemed a little bit implausible that she discovered that men don't like drama by dating women. I think
Mm-hmm.
far more plausible is that she dated women and she ended up with a sexual partner that introduced a lot of drama into their relationship where it was unnecessary and she felt destructive. And maybe, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I've seen this outside of this particular article, like almost abusive. Like it's
Oh
this
yeah.
constant emotional whiplash of conflict of, oh, where's our relationship going, and poking and attacking
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Oh, and there's a
she
lot
made
of jealousy, and there's
yeah.
especially if a woman is dating another woman, and one of those women is bisexual, and she's
Mm,
kind of playing the field, and she's seeing men, or seeing a man, or a man approaches her. The other
mm,
woman will be, well, I've seen this personally. They get extremely jealous, and
mm,
I found that appears to be more common with lesbian relationships. Like they can tend to be more uh like they want the commitment, whereas in gay
mm,
relationships it's more like loosey goosey. Like, oh,
mm.
that's what I've seen as someone who lived in and knew a lot of people that were gay, bisexual, and lesbian. So
Mm, mm. Yeah, and so maybe what really happened is she had a partner who really was addicted to drama and creating that kind of emotional chaos in their relationship, and
yeah.
she discovered that she didn't like it. Because it just is a really weird framing to say, "I dated women and discovered that men don't like drama."
Mm-hmm.
Really? I
Yeah,
think
that
it's more
doesn't.
likely that you
Yeah.
discovered you don't like it, and then you had that mirror up and you're like, "Oh, wow, I don't like this. Maybe I shouldn't
Mm-hmm.
pursue it within a relationship with a person, men who are even less likely to engage in it than, women are." In my experience, women are much more likely to bring in that kind of drama to a relationship, whereas men are much more likely to just sort of roll with it,
The
if that makes
difference
sense.
also, yeah, that makes sense. The difference also could be that when she was fine with drama, she wasn't at the event horizon of the drama. She wasn't in the middle of it.
Mm,
So she was like an observer, someone on the outside,
mm.
right?
Yeah, exactly,
And
yeah.
and when you're on the outside and you're watching it, it can be a lot of fun, right? Like
Mm,
because it doesn't
mhm.
affect you. But when you're in it or you're close to it, let's say that one of the women she dated herself had a whirlwind of drama around her, of friends betraying friends and people like addicted to drugs and whatever, like just around a bunch of people who didn't have their shit together. That's usually when drama starts to manifest, and
Mm,
she was too close to it. So then, that I think that its proximity is can also have an effect on what you think about this. But men, I
mm,
just wanted to go back to men for a second. See, the thing is, it's not that there aren't men who like drama, because you can just go and see what's going on in the skeptic Ethan Ralph whatever bullshit
mm.
community to find
Oh,
that
is he
there's
still
plenty of
around?
men. Yeah, there are plenty of men who like drama. They just treat it like the WWE. But that in general, men prefer to just confront whatever the problem is. It may
Mm,
result in a physical altercation, like, if things have been building for a while, but they generally just handle it in the real world as fast as possible because they got too much going on to worry about some shit like that, right? And
mm,
I think that the fact is that Men have to organize and prioritize like what's what matters in their life
Mm.
because we ask
Yeah,
that of
exactly.
them, and so they're going to just toss drama out because it's just a distraction. It's an obstacle. It's not helpful. And if there are people
Mm.
creating it, then the man will just cut them out of his life and move forward. And I think that a
Mm.
lot of women, maybe like the author of this piece, are the kind that would say, why would men do that? Like they would just find that
Mm.
to be like maybe too cold, maybe too, cruel
And
or
then
whatever. But
and then found out
yeah,
why.
and then they found out why. Yeah,
Because they
exactly.
got in a situation where they couldn't escape the drama because the drama was at home being brought in. Because the thing is that when I look at this, it's just seems really confusing to me how this is presented.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I dated women and found out that men hate drama. Okay, so the drama would have come from you dating women, correct? Because
Yeah.
obviously, if you're saying that men hate the drama, it's not coming from there. So it's sort of like you have to reverse engineer what she's actually saying here. And like I said, I think it's that she dated women. She found out that there is a level of drama being brought home and into her relationship that she didn't like,
Mm.
and she realized, "Hey, this isn't fun, this isn't good. I don't like it." And then she put it sort of on men. So she said that, "No, it's men who
Yeah.
don't like it. No, I think it's you who don't doesn't like the drama."
Yeah. And
And
it's
the other
and
thing is,
congratulations for that discovery.
yeah, congratulations for that discovery. And the other thing is that I think maybe what happened is that she experienced this drama, and I'm guessing that she does not want to point it out because, 1, she doesn't want to seem to blame women, and 2, she doesn't wanna seem to blame queer relationships, but there's no other interpretation for this.
Yeah.
She found that those relationships had a high degree of drama, and
Mm-hmm.
she likely found that it was uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then when she went back to men who are much lower on the drama scale, I think the reasonable assumption here is that she realized, "Hey, I actually like this. I actually appreciate this about men." And because I appreciate this about men, maybe it's something I can appreciate it about myself if I sort of stop the drama at the gate. And then she finds, "Oh, hey, my interactions with men are so much better now because I appreciate what they bring to a relationship and I'm reducing my own drama." Who knew, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's just I think that's much more likely what happened than, well, this doesn't this is a statement with all the causality cut out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and there has
All
to be some causality here.
right. And also her examples are a bit weird too because okay, she says, "Can she join me and my friends for some shopping once in a while?" Um I mean, I don't think men like to go shopping because they're generally, unless of course they're buying something for themselves, but even when they do, at least
Mm,
this is the way I am, and I would bet, and you guys can tell us in the chat, I'm the kind of guy that if I want something at the mall, I go to the mall, I go right to the store where it is, I get it and I leave. I
mhm,
don't I don't window shop, I don't hang out. I did that when I was a kid because I didn't have any money, but I wanted to be in the mall, but as an adult, if I like say, "Oh, I want to get this record," I just go to FYE, I grab my record, I buy it and I leave. But
mm,
but that that is, I think that men generally are okay with going with women if they're
mm,
dating them, as long as the woman is being considerate of their time as well, right? So they're not
mm,
spending like all day in the Victoria's Secret. But the other thing is even more interesting, where she says, "Can she kick back with a pint of ice cream on the weekend without worrying about breaking her diet?" Do you have any idea that, like, for men, that's like the perfect date? Oh, we're just gonna stay in, eat ice cream, and like watch movies or play Marvel vs. Capcom 2 or something.
mhm,
Like that is not something that men would not be down with, I think. I mean, maybe
mhm.
not all the time. Sometimes you want to go do something interesting and, whatever. But yeah, kick back with a pint of ice cream. Yeah, I mean, men are down with that. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but that is
Or play
like,
games, that
yeah,
yeah, watch movie, play games,
or
that's
watch a
that's
movie, yeah, play video games, whatever.
yeah.
Um
No, that I agree, and like I said, what was interesting for me about this is that there was a whole bunch of there that wasn't there in that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's because they didn't want to just come right out and say, "Women, you create too much drama, it's destroying your relationship, stop it." You
Yeah.
know? And she didn't wanna come out and say, "I dated women, they created a metric F ton of drama, and then when I went to men, it was like, "Oh, holy shit. Can I just cling to you for a bit now?"
Yeah.
Just not have to deal, you know? And I was just enjoying the fact that it's like you go home, maybe he's had a bad day, but it's very straightforward. He just tells you about it. That's it. You sit down with a pint of ice cream and watch a movie as opposed to playing a game of "I'm fine." Really? Are you really?
Yeah,
I'm fine.
exactly.
And then an hour later, "Why didn't you?" And "Why
No,
didn't you
I
guess
know.
that I wasn't fine?" And that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she's probably just, like, now at the end of this, really appreciating the stability of a male, like, the emotional stability of a male partner, like a normal man. Like, if you're in a relationship with a guy who's a narcissist, none of this applies.
Yeah.
That's not a normal man. So she's probably appreciating that emotional stability, and she can't say that. She can't say, "Women, you're too crazy, calm down." And
Yep.
I learned from that I really appreciate men and their greater emotional stability, which is actually statistically true. Um, so men are less neurotic, and I think they also have less emotional volatility. I don't think they don't feel less. It doesn't
Right. It doesn't
move
come
around as
out
much.
in some like
And
dramatic, explosive way, you know.
and men don't tend to as much uh like connect, like cling to the emotions that they feel. I think women tend to construct stories around their emotions, which is
Oh yeah.
sometimes really erroneous. Like I
Yeah.
feel I
Well,
feel I feel bad. It must be the guy in the room with me somehow, you know?
mm-hmm. Yeah, they usually need to like explain their feelings, and
Mhm.
men tend to just, you know, they tend to just worry about whether or not their emotional state is going to like become a problem, and if they think it is, and they're just gonna, you know, not suppress it, but I guess they're just gonna remain stoic and steadfast, and then deal with it later,
Mhm.
or they'll remove themselves from,
Which is
uh,
I know that a
you
lot of
know,
people would say we're being very gender essentialist, but if you think about it, we're recognizing that there's two different kind of emotional spectrums or emotional points of view. And there's probably
mm-hmm.
more than that, like there's feminine
Yeah,
men,
of
there's
course there's
masculine men
room. Yeah,
for
there's room for
others, but
variance, but we're talking
there's
about in general.
we're two strong poles. But here's the
Hmm.
thing, I think that the people who say, "Oh, you're being gender essentialist," well, usually they only think there's one pole. So, I
Yep.
mean, how much more gender essentialist is to say that there's only one way to experience emotions, and that's the
Hmm.
feminine way?
Yeah, that's
Because
right. It's
we're
like
saying there's a
everything is
feminine
varying degrees of the feminine in the other
we're saying there's a
in the
feminine
context.
way to process and experience emotions, there's a masculine way, there's combinations of the 2, but but to say that there's only one seems even more gender essentialist than saying there's 2 and possibly, like, a whole bunch of other, colors when you merge those 2 together.
Hmm.
But anyway, I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah.
Here's the next one. This is a
All right.
good
Well,
one too.
let me read the rest of this. It just says if you fulfill these two requirements, your date will want to hang out with you again. At least in my experience. Yes, men like things simple, but that doesn't mean
Mhm.
that they are simple. Um, Number
Yeah.
7. I no longer expect a guy to pay all the time. Again, in all caps. When I suddenly had to pay for at least half the bill on a date, I had a realization. What if my date can't afford this meal? So, okay, this is like a queer date, right? Because that's when she
Mhm.
realized it. So that means that
Mhm.
she was able to put herself in the shoes of her date and come to the
Mhm.
conclusion that
Exactly what I
maybe,
was saying.
yeah, that maybe the date, is being like stretched thin. Now, I would presume, just to be fair, okay, that if you're going to offer to take someone out, then you're prepared to pay. So,
Mhm.
whether you're a man or a woman, I think that that is probably
Mhm.
the most I don't know, equitable way to do it. But yeah, it's funny that she didn't become sympathetic to that
Yeah,
until she was
but
dating a woman.
that's what I was saying. It's like
Yeah.
she dates women, and because they're women, she has to recognize their individuality. When she was dating men, she was seeing them through a particular lens, and I know that lens that many women see men, which is
Yeah.
that a man is sort of the filler for everything I can't do for myself,
Mm.
emotionally, physically, and financially. And when women see men that way, they're not actually seeing an individual. They're almost seeing like a service bot, and they're
Yeah.
not even developing a real relationship with a human being. So she dated women, she started to relate to sexual partners, that's really critical. Sexual partners as individuals with their own feelings, and she brought that into her relationships with men. Oh, these men are individuals with their own feelings. Maybe I should consider how he feels about paying for this. Maybe I should consider how he feels about my expectations of service because he's a man. And then suddenly her relationships improved. I wonder why. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I started to see my partners as human beings. And then our interactions got so much
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I'm wondering now if there's like one of the items on this list is I found out that laying down like a starfish is not very hot in the bedroom. Um, All right, number seven. Like I said, when I suddenly had to pay for at least half the bill on a date, I had a realization. What if my date can't afford this meal? I never really took the time to see that this could be a possibility, but after having to fork up the dough on a number of dates with women because those women aren't going to pay for your date, I understood that if you're low on cash, the date is going to be a lot more nerve wracking. In some cases, this can create a lot of pressure to behave in a certain way. If the guy you're out with doesn't open your door and makes you split the bill, there's a good chance you probably don't want to go out with him again. Yes, that is very common. Why put yourself or him through that when you could simply take out your wallet and offer to buy the next round?
mm, mm. And here's the thing, like, um, not only does she start to see men as human beings by having dated, I wanted to point something out. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a lot of bisexual women and bisexual men in the men's rights movement.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's for women, it's because we sort of get it, you know? Like having to deal with women is can be quite a chore. And when you do have to do that, when you go through this process and you have to regard your sexual partner as an individual and you bring that with men, you start to see the kind of pressures and difficulties that men face. And you also have a lot of sympathy for guys who are just like, I don't want the drama. Plus, bisexual women tend to be more masculine as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's that I think that's one of the reasons. And then and with bisexual men, I think it's because they have an alternative or an option, so they don't have to be as focused on the values or the approval of women. But I just wanted to point that out there. But it's good to see that she's actually like this process made her appreciate men more. And then there's the ones like, you know, Amber Heard, who are just psychotic. um
I
that
think
I think
that Amber Heard is like seriously like damaged. Like I don't.
yeah,
She's just not normal. I don't know
yeah,
how they got her to act.
there's there are supposed bisexuals. I don't even know if they really deserve the term, who just use their sexuality in order to manipulate and
Mm,
to gain leverage over people.
mm-hmm.
And they don't care if it's a man or a woman. They just want to be able to gain leverage over you, use your sex
Yeah,
appeal.
yeah,
You know, but
and
that's a different kettle of fish.
yeah, and I'm not saying that
Go
to be
ahead.
mean. I'm not. I know that it's easy because
No,
everyone
she's
dunks on her.
genuinely.
But like when I watch her interviews, like her ability to interact with other human beings, it's like it's surreal looking. Like
Mhm.
she's not normal. Like something is really wrong and she needs
Something is
help.
broken in her head.
Something is
Yes.
broken and she's like raising children. I'm kind of worried about those kids.
Yeah,
But
what she needs, if I don't even know if this would work, but, um, there's, like, therapies for men who have antisocial personality disorder, which I think is
mhm,
actually more what she has, and you have to learn to take responsibility for your actions,
yeah,
and you need to connect your actions to their consequences, and it takes a lot of work, and
yeah.
there's certain men with an antisocial personality disorder, and they're comorbid with, like, sociopathy who cannot be changed. She
Yeah,
might be
it's
in that
work.
category.
She might be, and I mean, I know that we're going. This is a tangent, but what it
Yeah.
is that makes me feel that way is that I watched that hour-long interview, and I've watched
Mhm.
like the stuff that she did on the stand and everything, and she seems to only be able to speak in platitudes. And when people only
Mm.
speak in platitudes, they're just saying things that they heard somewhere that sounds wise, or people believe that it means something more. And that's the extent of their ability to communicate, or at least the way that they wish to, like, that
Mm.
I find that like really concerning. So
Mm.
anyway, that's why it's like empty
Mhm.
platitudinal statements for any
Mhm.
question. So,
Mhm.
all right.
Yeah,
Anyway,
no, I got what you're saying, yeah.
yeah, yeah. So now, number 8, I figured out what I want. I used to think I wanted a guy that was tall, strong, emotionally secure, and a real man's man. But after dating women, I realized that maybe I had it all wrong. In reality, I just want someone who's secure in who they are, who treats me well, and who really cares about me. Really, I want the same thing in a man as I do in a woman, and that's kind of cool. Again, yes, I mean, a man could be all of the manly things and also be, those qualities that you want at the same time. I know it's hard to believe, but a man's man could also be someone who cares about you, treats you well, and is secure in who they are. So, but I don't
Yeah?
know if she's trying to, like, divide that to say, oh, there are these men, which are like stereotypes, and then there are these men. That's not how men operate. I think that generally they're gonna, if it's a good man, he's gonna have like all the good qualities. So,
Okay, but here's one of the things. What's the difference between emotionally secure and someone who's secure in who they are? There is no
right,
difference.
exactly. There's no difference. She's saying the same thing, but one of them, the first thing that she described, tall, strong, emotionally secure, and a real man's man, she's almost like painting a caricature of
Mhm.
masculinity. And then she says, and then I found out that that was just a caricature of a man, and I actually want this other
Mm.
thing. And then the same descriptors, except for the height thing, which is the only thing that isn't in the second set of characteristics, it's the same, right? I want someone who's secure in who they are, treats me well, and who really cares about me.
Mm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
yeah,
and,
she probably still wants a
I
guy
mean,
that's tall, though.
yeah,
But go ahead.
who treats me well and really cares about me. I really do like, I honestly think that probably what happened is that she started to see her male partners as individuals and people,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what improved her relationship with them. Because it like, she framed it at the beginning, it was her relationship with men that improved, and seeing men as people is gonna do that. And starting to move away from the stereotypical expectations. And I think what she means by a manly man is, again, that sort of guy who can be everything that she thinks she isn't. And instead, maybe what she's looking more for is a companion. And I really
Yep.
doubt that prior to this, she didn't expect them to treat her well. I think what's happened is she's lost some expectations that maybe were a little bit too onerous, like an expectation that a man always be strong or always be emotionally secure or always be tall.
Yep.
Those kind of expectations, she lets that go and a greater understanding of the men that she's with as an individual, and a greater understanding that what she really wants is a companion, not a service bot, not like this kind of stereotype. and as a result, her relationships improve. Who knew, you know?
Yeah,
But
who would
again,
have
like,
thought?
all of this is her. Like, her expectations, like,
Mhm.
her expectations for dates to be paid for, her expectations that men occupy this particular very narrow, restrictive role of masculinity and strength, and that's because she wanted them to be strong for her, maybe because there was stuff about herself that she was uncomfortable with or whatever. You know, this expectation that, I don't men deal with her drama. And then she had all of this thrown back in her face by dating women. She probably thought about it a bit. And then also, by contrast, men may have actually seemed a bit better because they are stable. And honestly, I think men treat women better than women treat each other often. Um,
Oh, yeah.
and I in some ways, I would also say the reverse. I think that in some cases, women treat men better than men can treat each other, especially when you're talking
Mhm.
about men who are obsessed with this idea that they are the one good man,
Yeah.
and there's
Yeah.
every other guy is a bastard, you know.
Yeah, of course,
But
and it go ahead.
so maybe she figured out, rather than anything really changing, her expectations changed and she started to see them as human beings. She started to appreciate what men bring to the table in relationships, and that's what improved everything. But you don't need to go through all of this, and she's sort of pussyfooting around any kind of implication that women might to be blamed for something like being too dramatic, being having too many expectations. Like, also, there's sort of a hint. Her girlfriends apparently didn't consider that she might not be able to pay. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I was thinking that too. No, I did
Yeah.
notice that. So,
Yeah.
because now, but well, they expected that she was at least going to pay half because that's what she wrote. It was essentially when
Yeah.
those other women who didn't expect to pay for everything
Mm.
said, you know, you're going to have to, like, where's your money? Get your wallet out.
Mhm.
And she was probably like,
Mhm.
oh, that's never happened to me
Yeah.
before. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and it might have occurred to her when they went to restaurants that maybe were out of her budget, so she had to
Mm
scramble, and
hmm.
then she's
Mm hmm.
thinking, "Oh, wait, this is something I did with men, and maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should be more considerate with my male partners about what they can budget for and maybe also offer to pay as well," and
Mm
that's something that probably men would appreciate. And in all of this, it's the idea that she's starting to relate towards men as individuals. And she's also starting to appreciate what men uniquely bring to relationships. Because men, I'm not kidding, men will care about you more than a woman. It's just instinctual. And I'm not,
hmm.
you can have like really intense romantic relationships with women, but there's this fundamental quality that men have. If a
Yep.
guy jumps out, or if somebody jumps out with a gun, you're much more likely that your husband is going to shove you down and take the bullet for you than your wife, if you're a woman. And that's just the way it is. So
Yeah.
men do have this kind of whole instinctual apparatus of caring about their female partners that female partners do not necessarily have with their female partners. And yeah, you can have like a very intense romantic relationship. That's not to say you can't. You're not gonna have that, which I think may go a long way to explain why there is so much domestic violence among lesbian
Mm
relationships. But
hmm.
regardless, that's just a statistical fact.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
Although I have seen some statistics that, there's also a great deal among gay relationships too, at least coming out of the UK. I don't know how much that I'd have to look at the
Mm.
methodology. But anyway, I'm
Mm.
introducing a lot of weeds here.
That's
So
okay.
you're looking at a guy, or you're looking at a partner who's going to very much care about you, and have not just personal care for you, but also have the whole suite of instincts that men have to take care of women, to protect and provide for women, to respond to signs of their distress. Like hormonally respond to women's distress. Like
Yeah.
women don't do that with other women. And then you also have a guy or a person who's probably going to be less drawn to drama. So you're going to have more emotional stability, and you're also going to have someone who's more capable of helping through your own emotional instability. So there's a lot of benefits to being with a man,
Yeah.
And maybe she realized, one, men are human beings. Maybe I should relate to them more on an individual level, more considerate of their feelings. And two,
Mm.
maybe I can appreciate them more. And lo and behold, her
Yeah.
relationships got better. I mean, wow.
I know, who would have thunk it? The other
Who
thing
would have
too
thunk
is that I think that when you're dating men as a woman, as opposed to dating women as a woman, I think the investment in your partner's investment is slightly different. It's not to say that lesbians couldn't, have a relationship and stay together and grow old together and all of that. But I think that when men are looking for women, most of the time they're hoping that they'll find someone who will want to bear their children and start a family with. So it changes what men are, what the investment a man has in that relationship compared to, another woman. I think it affects what men's priorities are, what they're looking for, and hopefully on some level they do know that if they, find a woman that treats them in the way that you were talking about, as an individual who tries to understand their point of view and all of that, that they'll want to then, further down the line breed with them. So not to put it in like such a, callous way, but I think that the fact that, men and women come together to have kids, I think it changes like what men are looking for in a woman and how they're measuring them. Whereas, maybe in a lesbian relationship, it might have more to do with like, how emotionally available are they? How much fun do we have together? Like things like that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
all
Okay.
right.
Before we go on, I just wanted to do a shout out to some, because we didn't get any super chats, guys.
Yeah,
What the
we
heck's
didn't.
up
We
with
did
that?
get a Rumble rant though.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
I did want to put out a shout out to Silva. Dating women didn't help you understand men. It helped you realize women aren't all that exquisite. Yeah. I
Yeah,
think that's probably true.
it's probably a simple way to put all this.
And Wendell Caesar, who says, "Thanks for this video. I had to send it to my wife. Hope that hope that works out and is
Mm-hmm.
she gets some information from that." All right, go for the Rumble rant.
All right, Rumble rant from Oiknowai. I think that this is like a reference to something. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's OICNWOIE. Someone is just too clever, and I'm just not smart enough to get it. And they gave us $2 and said, as Bernie Sanders once famously said, the American people are tired of women. I think he would
say that.
Yeah, but I think there was more after that. So it was like a funny little thing, I think, that was on the internet a while back. All right, number 9. Oh no, wait, this isn't. This is another ad. So
Yeah,
is that the
ad.
Oh, so that's the end then. That was the end of the thing.
Yeah, that's the end. That's
oh,
the
okay.
End. It's good. It was a nice little show.
Yeah, wrapping on up with a bow on top. Yeah, I guess I was expecting more, but seems like it's just like we said, you dated chicks and it changed the way you look at dudes, I guess.
Okay, I just want to remind everyone again, we're a fundraiser, feedthebadger.com/project/badger-media-blitz. Please go there and support the show if you want us to continue to be able to do this content. And we will receive super chows even after the show ends. So you can do that there at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. All right, back to you, Brian.
All right, so we're going to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show today. If you guys like this video, please smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. Let us know what you guys think.
Ooh, I'm not John Cooper.
You're not. Yeah, you're not John Cooper. Let me just go back to the other thing. I forgot to change that. That was my guest. Sorry about that. Hit the bell for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys thought about what we discussed on the show today. And most importantly, please share this video. Be sure to follow us on Rumble, Twitch, DLive, Twitter, and Facebook. Yeah, Rumble, Twitch, DLive, Twitter, Facebook.
Keeps extending. It's like an octopus.
So that you'll be able to watch our streams in case we don't appear on YouTube, or we decide not to air a video on YouTube, because sometimes, you know, we have to be careful about which kinds of content we put out on the tubes, and which ones we, you know, want to like hold on to keep it close to the chest. So thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of The Dating Show, and we will talk to you all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.